Now, just showing you some also practical aspects. So this is how it usually today they are putting into timing the dental implants. So first of all, the patient comes, the hole is drilled and so on, and then they are putting in the bony part of the dental implant. We have to wait around 3 to 6 months for the total healing. And then until then, of course, the patient will get a provisional crown or something like that. Then with a very small, they will take it out and put in the crown, and it looks very nicely. Now we have already the knowledge that instead of one tooth or replacing one tooth, you need one dental implant, and this is very well working. Now we have a very big, let's say, increment or decreasing in the number of the dental implants used, and this is due because the fabrication of the dental implant starts to be cheaper and cheaper, so it's more and more available. So you can even find for 50 euros dental implant. Of course, you need also the surgeon and so on. So in Hungary, we can estimate around 200,000 dental implants are inserted, and in the European community, it's more than 1 million for sure. Now, when we speak about that we have a long 3 to 6 months healing period, of course you can imagine that many people, they would like to have a very fixed dental implant for a smaller timing, and therefore it is a very up-to-date demand to optimize those centralization or to make it quicker, yes, and to make it quicker, and therefore they started to deal with what is happening between the biomaterial and surrounding tissue. Now, in the 80s, when Rönemark was making this research, they let's say the scientific group dealing with that told that there is no biomaterial which will have new bone formed on the biomaterial. They said that for sure that from the old bone it should come the new bone, but there is no biomaterial on which you will have new bone attachment. And he struggled around and he did not see this one. He had seen that on the biomaterial, you can have biomaterial, especially titanium or titanium dioxide, on which you can have very good connection of bone attachment. And also, he established that we have an interaction. So when you insert a biomaterial in the surrounding tissue, you don't have just the interaction coming from the surrounding tissue, but also the biomaterial interacts with the surrounding tissue. This was a very important finding. It looks like obvious for you now, but I have to tell you that it was around 30 years of struggle for those researchers. And then they have realized that the interface, where the place of interaction happens, that is very important. And here we can speak about surface science methods. Now, I don't know if you have learned about surface properties of materials in your high school or in the university, I don't know, but this is generally available now, and we are teaching this way for biomaterial sciences. It is very, very easy to understand that the surfaces are behaving very different from the bulk, and if you just check this kind of carbon material, then you can see that in the bulk, if you have the 4 valencies, everywhere you have a neighbor, but of course you will have a surface and you can have 3 valencies. This is why it's very reactive, yes. This is why when I am telling the analogy for the ladies, this is why that we have to always clean the surfaces, yes, at home, because on the surfaces you will have a very, very rare contamination. Variable or mobility. This is especially true for polymers. They can change depending on the hydrophilic or hydrophobic environment. And then they started to deal with understanding what it means biocompatibility. And by making the in vitro testing, so it means that putting cells on different surfaces, they have realized that some cells favor some kind of surfaces and they don't have the other kind of surfaces. So very quickly in the 80s, 90s and so on, we have established a new, let's say, phenomena, so-called biorecognition, which told us, and we have proofs for that, I will show you in a few slides, that the body is capable of reading the surface characteristics. And it can choose between the good biomaterials, first of all, based on the surface. And here you can see the importance of the surface. Of course, that in a cell which is attached, and it is in the fluid, yes, in the tissue fluid nearby the implant, it will not see, it will never see the bark. It cannot enter in the bark, yes? So the surface is the place where when they can get this aspect. And this is the last 15 or 20 years evidences which are coming out. And I'm sure that you have heard that when, for example, a material is under, as I told you, you have a foreign body reaction and so on. Maybe if you learned good biology in your high school, you heard about macrophages and so on and what they are doing. But under the macrophages system, we did not know what is happening in the nanosecond, microsecond, nanometer, micrometer scale. And those surface science methods which were used nowadays, these are showing you these evidences, and of course immunohistochemistry and so on. Let's check out this slide because I think that this is important. So if you have a good surface, for example titanium dioxide, then as I told you, when you insert the dental implant in the bone, first of all, what you will have there? The tissue fluid and the blood. The tissue fluid and the blood, what do you have? Water. The basic thing is the water, yes? The water, so therefore the water shell, it will form very nicely, as you can see it here. But if your surface is contaminated, so it is plenty with carbons, and etc. and so on, then you will not have a good water shell. What else do you have in the fluid which is surrounding the dental implant? You will have a lot of proteins. We know well the proteins. So the proteins, they are very, very sophisticated molecules, because if they don't like a surface, or if they don't like their environment, which depends from pH, from everything like that, they can be denaturated. And when they are denaturated, then they will not function, as you may know, and you have learned. So when you have a good water shell and you have a good underlayer, then you will have a protein layer which is very nicely established on the surface. And this is the so-called, so the water shell together with the protein layer, the so-called conditioning film. This is a very important key factor of the biointegration. If you will have a mess here, so you will not have a good water shell contamination, then the proteins will be denaturated. And then in the second time scale, let's say like that around, the cells will go to the biomaterial, and as you can see, really, if we can imagine, the cell will not be in contact directly with the biomaterial. It is in contact, first of all, with the conditioning film. So the conditioning film is crucial for the biointegration of these materials. And as you can see, if you have a denaturated conditioning film and protein underlayer, the cells will not like anymore, and this biomaterial will be kicked out very quickly. So this is what we have learned, and this is not just a fantasy, these are evidence-based. This is the overview of the centrifugation process. I call it a crocodile because it looks like that. So now, and this you can find Pula and Nancy articles. I will suggest it is available on the PubMed. It's a very nice article. So you can see this is the old bone. Yes, and of course the gap between the biomaterial and the bone, old bone is magnified to see. And you can see that on the biomaterial also new bone cells and new bone is formed. And we can already detect and prove that around 2 micrometers of bone is formed per day, and then slowly this gap will be closed. Yes? What is happening first of all? So as I told you, the protein absorption from blood and tissue fluid. It is very important to understand that some proteins are going there, are forming the conditioning film, but some of them, they will go away from the surface. They don't have any function, we don't understand yet that one. The conditioning film is established, and what I told you is very important, that the implant surface in itself reacts to the insertion in the human body. Why? How it is reacting? Because it has an electrochemical modification. You can imagine, if I leave, for example, let's say, I don't know, this metal here outside, and well, you have a little wet condition, but now we have a air conditioner, of course, it will stay here for, let's say, for 20, 30 years and sit like that. If you put this metal or a metal in the bone, because you have an aggressive environment, it can have corrosion, degradation, and so on. Yeah? So it's obvious. This is the so-called electrochemical modification of the implant surface, and we can detect also a release of particles, ions, calcium and phosphate, which is very important in the formation of the new bone. So we can have very good factors. absorption of selective absorption. Then it will have the formation of lamina limidians. This is a Latin name of afibrillar interfacial zone. It is not so important for us. And then you will have the formation of new bone, which is also very important. So when we have found and we start to understand, and I'm sure that we are not at totally understanding yet, then we realized that we can control in some respects processes by the modification of the biomaterial or implant surface. And we are making two categories, two families. First of all, the physical, chemical, and biochemical methods. Nowadays, every dental implant which is available on the market, or even orthopedic implant or hip joint implant, it is physically, chemically modified. And you will see very quickly why. I have made a book chapter, if you are interested, you can find it on the net, in the biotechnology about services. So what is the goal of physical chemical methods? You want to modify the charge, chemical composition of morphology of the surfaces, and you are making the distinguishing between the biochemical methods because when you attach a peptide or an enzyme or a protein on the dental implant surface, that is already called the biochemical methods. But when you are doing a calcium phosphate coating, for example, you can see it here, then that is still physical chemical methods. So what kind of physical chemical methods? The chemical surface reactions, like for example oxidation, acid etching. So the oxidation of titanium is also a chemical modification, yes? Then they are using very often the sandblasting. Ion implantation, it means that you are bombarding with nitrogen ions and you will have a very good mechanical properties of those implants. Then you can use pulse laser deposition. We have also some publication regarding that. You can coat the surface, you can see here the publication, and we are dealing with laser ablation. I will show you this. So these are the evidences which I have to show what I was telling you, that at an early stage when a cell is put on a surface with different roughnesses or different features, they will respond differently. Now we know since 2005 or 2006 that the epithelial cells, they attach more to smooth surfaces. The fibroblast and these epithelial cells, of course, maybe you know, or if you don't know, I will tell you that they are in the gingiva, yes? Mainly. And also fibroblast cells. The fibroblast cells are attaching every kind of surface, they like every, and the osteoblast cells, they show an increase, let's say, metabolic activity on rough surfaces, as I told you, from 500 nanometers around to 2000 nanometers and so on. Meile and all and his co-workers, they could even show that the roughness of the surface will control the cell activity and therefore they will determine the healing process. And you can see these many publications. I was just showing you some laser ablation. I will tell you later on. Now, I will not go in details, but if you make a literature review about the application of the lasers in surface modification of biomaterials, then you will see a lot of work done. So, for example, they use erbium laser, then diode laser. This is a low-level laser therapy, CO2 laser, and you can see also that you have some in vitro results. In vivo results are not so many, but if you will have these slides, then you can, if you are interested in them, you can go further. Now, I just highlight one or two of them. So the diode laser treatment of the cells, it was used by Kadram and his co-workers, and they have published two articles also. These are the laser parameters, and really they have shown that human osteoblasts, it was increased, and the production of osteocalcin and TGF-beta production was, let's say, increased and enhanced, and also the irradiated cells were forming more effectively close, so you can see nice 10 microscopic slides about that, and this was a very positive treatment of the cells. Then if you go further, the neodymium laser, which is, you use the 1064 nanometers, it is used, less of the krypton fluoride XRM laser is used, you can see just one article in that, and then you have the very short laser impulses, 50 femtosecond laser, which are used also for treatment of titanium, aluminum, vanadium, and CP titanium plates. Neodymium laser, by the way, is used more also for dentin ablation, formation of dentin craters, but it is so expensive still, this technique, that it is not used in practice since then. But okay, we are doing the research, and slowly they will evolve to be like that. Regarding the femtosecond lasers, I found two very interesting publications. This is one that all in biomedical materials. You can see very nice formations of the, here you can see the femtosecond laser treated titanium, and these are the osteoblast OCT1 cell lines, and they were growing faster. You can see here the data, so it was increasing the deposition of the calcium phosphate, so that also improved the cell attachment and proliferation. Vorobiev, they were using titanium Zephyr laser underneath water condition, fluid condition, and you can see very nice structures. Well, I think that this was, I cannot see, I do not remember, but I think that they were doing, yes, I'm sure, cell culture studies, not animal studies then, and they were just using this kind of titanium Zephyr laser for modifying these surfaces. Now, what are the advantages of laser modification? Of course, you can, this is a precision in the wavelength of the light. You can use a wide range of wavelengths. You are not contacting the surface, really. Then you can use high energy density range. Then you can use pulse mode, and the X-Heimer laser treatment, if you compare with the others, the ultraviolet wavelength range and sterilizing effect, which we have shown in 2003 in our article, which was very well seen. And now at the end, I will show you shortly. Yes? Do you have patience for me? Patience for me? It's okay? Yeah? Nem túl hosszú? 5-10 minutes, yes? I keep in mind that. So this is the article which we have done together. You see here Professor Todt. Also, this was our first work together. And so it was a nice, let's say, interdisciplinary connection between the dentist and the physicist. So this was the system, we can say it. We use argon fluoride, X-Heimer laser, pyrrole fluoride laser. You have here a filter, then a grating, and here you have the titanium sample. Of course, you will focus it with a lens, then you have a beam splitter for measuring the fluence of this laser beam. And this was the laser which we used. You can see the parameter, it is in UV, 193 nanometers, so of course it was sterilizing it, and we were using typical C2 grade 1 titanium disc of this size. The pulse duration, it was 80 nanoseconds, and the pulse energy was 100 millijoule. Now what we could establish in these results, that if you have a machine surface and you see the same magnification, after you laser, you apply the laser, then you will have a nice, very nicely polished surface. Of course, still very expensive to use this kind of technique, but as it evolves, you can use it for polishing dental materials also. Then we applied the 80 nanosecond argon fluoride X-Heimer laser, which is available at the experimental physics department. For optics, I'm sorry, for optics from there. And you can see here the shadow of the grade of the copper grade. So the laser beam was attacking this surface, but unfortunately you can see also some melted particles which can come out and make a toxic effect in the human body. So it is not a too good, let's say, laser ablated surface. And then we were going to the big shoot, to the 0.5 picosecond krypton fluoride X-Heimer laser. Of course, this is a very sophisticated technique because you can use it just in vacuum. So it was it takes a long time to make a surface area like that. But we could show that we had a large contact area without rims. Yes, so this is a much nicer. And the size, it is very preferred by the osteoblasts. It's around 10 micrometers and so on. This is the size of these cells which have to attach. And also we show that we have a cleaner surface and increased thickness of the titanium dioxide. We have measured with X-ray photoelectron spectroscopy, and we applied also argon iodine barbel. I'm sure that you know this system. And what we could see here that you can see here the red one is the laser 3D titanium sample. This is the control sample. And if you focus on these peaks, you will see very nicely that even we could measure the size of the titanium dioxide layer. And how? Because if you have an argon iron barbel for the laser will be available, which is typical for titanium dioxide. And for the non-irradiating titanium disc, this metal will come out very quickly. So therefore, we could show that 3 times larger was the titanium dioxide laser in case of the laser-treated sample. Well, we at that time we saw that this is good, but then other researchers showed that the good thickness of the titanium dioxide layer is the native, around 20 and 100 angstrom, and but it was a nice result. Then we checked also the crystalline structure, whether the laser treatment affects the bulk crystalline structure, and some respect the bulk, and we have found that no, it was preserved, so it is good, it is available and not making anything wrong. Then we applied these laser-treated surfaces in putting on them calcium phosphate coating. It is a very sophisticated method, by the way, and we could find that on the laser treatment surfaces you will have a much nicer coating of calcium phosphate, and at that time we wanted very much to test them with in vitro studies, but we could not do it like that. Now, as you can see, we can show with surface science methods establish some surface features which are good, but the main important part is to test the biological environment. And the most cost-effective and very good studies are the so-called in vitro cell culture studies, and we started to investigate the attachment and proliferation of human MG63 osteoblast cells. I will go quicker a little bit. So you remember we were making the article in 2003, and just in 2012 we started to have this laboratory, and we asked the optics department to make for us almost the same ensemble laser treated samples, but it was not so easy. So therefore, we had other kind of surfaces. This is the as you can see, this is the neodymium laser treated, and this is the excimer laser treated. You can see the parameters. What we have found, of course, you know the difference between the neodymium and excimer laser. We have found that we, unfortunately, in respect to the control surface, we had much smoother surfaces, which was not our goal. So we wanted a more rougher surface for the osteoblast surfaces, but okay, this was available for the surface, for the environment. And we also compared with other studies, and as you can see, Turner in Applied Surface Science in 2005, they have seen the same cracks with the neodymium laser ablation, which is not good because if you have these cracks, they can come down and it will make a toxic effect on the dental implant. Well, I would be happy if you could do this kind of, if I turn back a little bit now the lasers, and I'm not telling that they are not good, that they are not available. This is the son of Professor Robert Grönemark, who was doing very nice surface modification of the dental implants using neodymium laser, but it has a very sophisticated technique, I cannot tell you, but they had already made also animal testing that it is working nicely. But typically what we can see that they are making these holes and the rims are not good, so what we could see in our research, it is also proved by other researchers. And then if I want to show you the excimer laser treatment, so this was the old one. We wanted to reproduce this surface, but it was not possible. So our new excimer laser treated surface, it was looking like that, and it's not the same like we wanted. But okay, we were going further. This is by the way pulse laser deposition. I was just wanting to show you that the krypton fluoride excimer laser treatment is used more for pulse laser deposition, and we had also cooperation with the optics department working on that. And the XPS measurements show, this is the overview of XPS measurements, that the titanium dioxide layer, it is the native titanium dioxide layer is there intact, but the neodymium laser treatment changed the surface composition, and we found also metallic and titanium 3 plus let's say components in the titanium, between the titanium dioxide layer, which means that neodymium laser treatment is not so good for that. The excimer laser treatment did not provoke such change, so we would favor this kind of ablation if the excimer laser would be so let's say, surfaces, but really it did not affect well the cell attachment. We assume that because the roughness was changed in a not good manner, this is why it happened like that. So then we were making some scanning electron microscopic images of the MD63 cells, as you can see here. We could not establish any difference between them. What was the main important finding, and this is why the publication was accepted, I think, that the role of the cell, so when cell culture tissue response it is tested, then in these conditions we can say that the oxide layer of the titanium dioxide, what kind of titanium dioxide we have there, is a more important factor than, so the roughness is more important than the chemical composition of the titanium layer, of the titanium dioxide layer, and it was published in this Material Science and Engineering. Now, and then just to finish, we are now working on, and this is a old slide by the way, so we are making some pre-implant preventing surfaces now. We are using nanosilver, of course, you know that the nanosilver is very hot topic, and we are testing microbiologically. I have to tell you that we have, although I did not present the results in the publication, that we have promising, let's say, results that some epithelial and fibroblast cells, they like this surface, and the microbiology is testing. Now, regarding the laser application, we have another cooperation, which unfortunately now it's not working too well because the PhD student is now not working with us. So the laser photoacoustic detection, which is on which we are working with Sabuano, physicist, and Professor Szabó Gábor. This is a very nice application because, as maybe you know, what do you know what is halitosis? The bad breath, yes? So many, very big population of the population that has this halitosis, and we started to think like that in the oral cancer prevalence in Hungary, it is very, very high. And because of, as I told you, we don't take care too much of our oral cavity and drinking and smoking and so on. And the clinicians told us that when an oral cancer patient comes in the dental clinic, then they can smell a very different smell, let's say breath. And then we started to detect, and it is very important to, we would like to, let's say, to determine those components which can make an early diagnosis for oral cancer. Because unfortunately, many patients are coming at a very late stage. So if you could apply a non-invasive detection, like just detecting the breath, non-invasive, you don't take blood, you don't make any incision and so on, then it would be very good. So we are working also on that. And as I told you, I would like to have a very motivated PhD student of that later on. Okay, and thank you very much. I hope that it was interesting. If you have any questions, I am available.
Basically, the big question.
So before you put the dental implant, that you should treat with soft laser. Yes, that will not do any harm. Yes, soft tissue laser are very much used. Yes. No, not the higher, the soft, just the soft laser. It should be used, yes. But I think that there are some practitioners are already using that for preventing belly blockages. Yes.
So then, you think that the delay in placing would cause any surface impurities on the surface?
What do you mean by the delay in the?
For example, I'm checking my size.
Yes.
I open the sterile bag.
Yes.
Like the surface.
For sure. So for example, I did not show you Strauma. You heard about Strauma, yes. That is a very big company, and they have made a very simple, let's say, modification of the dental implants. What they are doing, let's just imagine. I did not bring it with you, but you can imagine. They are, so you have the dental implant, and usually you have a sterile bag. But now what they have made, that they are putting in an isotonic solution in a cap, yes, and because when the doctor takes it out from the sterile, let's say, packing, and for those 2 or 5 seconds until you are inserting it, from the air you will have so many contamination on the surfaces that you will not have any more good one. If you have a wet surface, that wet surface will protect from the contamination going there. And this is why they have very good clinical studies. Just by putting in a wet environment. So I'm sure that you will have a lot of contamination. So if you are taking too much time from taking from the sterile pack and putting it there, for sure that you will have more contamination. Thank you very much. Okay, if you have any questions later on, I think that I have my contacts. You can find me on the homepage of Faculty of Dentistry if you are willing some publication.